Hey freaks, it's JJ. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I am both an author and a metalhead, and here on my channel we talk about rock and metal music and how it relates to storytelling. So I am, of course, a huge fan of the fantasy genre, and yeah, I have multiple fantasy tattoos. I have a Bridge 4 tattoo here, I have a Game of Thrones tattoo here. It's not necessarily fantasy related, but I also have a Gladiator tattoo here as well. So yes, a big fantasy nerd here. I kind of wanted to talk about some fantasy stuff today, and this is currently my temporary setup because I'm going to be moving here in the next few months. But in my old setup, I had my whole bookshelf behind me, and a lot of you had commented on all of the fantasy books that I had on that shelf. I know a lot of you Brandon Sanderson fans out there had commented on it. So yeah, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about fantasy and about music. And I was talking with one of my friends a few weeks back, and he was saying that it's kind of this Japanese type thing to have a theme song for characters. And we were talking about why don't more people do that? Why don't we do that in the Western culture, have theme songs specifically designated for certain characters or for certain scenes? So yeah, I just kind of was thinking about this recently, and I was going through my music, and I was trying to put together a list of theme songs for various fantasy characters. And of course, most of these songs are going to be rock and metal related. So this is, yeah, just kind of a quick little list of theme songs that I put together for any of you who are both metalheads and fans of some nerdy fantasy stuff like me. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to try really hard to not do any spoilers in this video, but I'm really bad about spoilers, so I probably will have some in this video. I will try and warn you, and I will put up a little spoiler warning thing here in case you don't want things spoiled for you with these fantasy novels I'm going to talk about. But yeah, before we get started, make sure you like, share, subscribe, join my metalhead community. Link is down in the description, and from there you get access to bonus content, and it's all free, and you get newsletters from me and all that good stuff. Anyway, I'm going to start off with the best fantasy author alive, and that is of course Brandon Sanderson, and if you disagree, you are wrong. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about the Stormlight archive, but pretty much just the first book, which is The Way of Kings. If you haven't read it, absolutely need to read it if you are at all interested in fantasy. I'm going to be talking about Dalinar first of all. For Dalinar, I think his theme song is Invincible by Tool. So I picked Invincible because Dalinar is a really cool and unique character in that he is no longer this young, impetuous character who just charges into battle. He, is trying to reconcile who he was in his past to be this, strong leader that they need from him. And so he, was back in his old days, he was definitely, driven by the thrill of the fight, and he can still definitely put on his shard plate and, kick some ass with his shard blade. But he's not that person anymore who, is obsessed with the thrill and has done all these horrible things just because he can. And so he's definitely trying to go through some things that I think the Tool song really relates to, in that if you're this really powerful and well-known warrior, who are you once you become old? Are you still trying to be this person that you were, or are you moving on to try and be something else? And if that new person you're trying to be is completely different than the old person, how does that work? And that he's in a place now where he is really regretting a lot of the things that he did in his past. And so yeah, it's just this warrior who's gotten older and wiser, but is still kind of called to fulfill that thrill of the fight as well. Next up we have Kaladin, who is one of my favorite characters in this series, and he is definitely the dark and brooding type, always blaming himself for everything that goes wrong. And so when I was trying to find a theme song for him, luckily we have Mastodon's Hushed and Grim album, and I really could have assigned him the entire album because it's very, the tone is very fitting with his character, I believe. But I picked the song Tear Drinker because I think it really exemplifies how Kaladin really blames himself for everything that goes wrong. And trying not to give any spoilers here, but if you read the book, you really know what the ghost of his past is that he's trying to atone for, basically. And the shard of glass that is constantly cutting him and making him think that he's not worthy of anything, and that everything is his fault. So he's really just trying to overcome all this blame And that's kind of a thing that he has to confront multiple times throughout the series, is, you know, trying not to blame himself for everything that goes wrong. But yeah, I thought this song especially had some perfect lyrics that matched right up with his character. And yeah, it's kind of a gloomier song. The whole album's a little bit gloomy, hence why it's called Hushed and Grim. But yeah, I thought it was perfect for him. Last but not least for this book, we have the character of Sidious, and he is definitely the villain of, well, one of the villains of this story. And so he needed a badass villain theme song, and so I decided on Bad Man by Coheed and Cambria. If you've watched this channel for any length of time, you knew there was going to be some Coheed on this list. And yeah, this is just one of my favorite like villainy type songs. Of course, this song is originally intended for Candelaria, which is this guy in the Coheed and Cambria Amory Wars lore. If you're curious about that, I'll link that up here. I did all the videos talking about all that. But I think this song fits perfectly for Sidious as well, in that he is just this guy you just want to like strangle by the end. And yeah, a villain that you just want to like murder and who just makes you like boil over with rage at reading. It's obviously a very well-written character. So, and I find that Bad Man is a great badass villain theme song for him.
When you need a bad man, mama, watch your mouth. Don't think twice about messing with you. You need a bad man.
Alright, next up we're going to be talking about Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, but mostly just the first book, A Game of Thrones. And I'm going to be talking about Daenerys Targaryen, and as she is one of my favorite characters, at least as far as the book series goes, and especially in the very first book, she was always my favorite point of view to read from. And so I have assigned her the song Burn by In This Moment. And so really the scene that I was imagining for this to be her theme song is, spoiler alert, right at the end where she, you know, emerges from the flames with all of her dragons. And that's such a badass moment. I think you can make a whole music video with just, you know, like that whole scene played out with this song from In This Moment. And so yeah, it's one of my favorite moments in the stories where she kind of achieves her character arc and she kind of is set on this path of like badassery and like take no shit from anyone. You know, when she starts out very innocent and, you know, kind of gullible, and then by the end she's this like badass who, you know, emerges from the flames unscathed, because of course fire doesn't burn the dragon. And so yeah, we kind of see the seeds of what she will become later in the series. That's the only character I have for Game of Thrones. Moving on to the book Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I love this trilogy and I love the, you know, companion duology as well. The character I'm going to be talking about is the Darkling. Of course, he is the typical villain that you love to hate and hate to love. And for that I have assigned him Darkness at the Heart of My Love by the band Ghost.
There's a darkness at the heart of my love that runs cold, runs deep. The darkness at the heart of my love for you.
And so, yeah, I think the Darkling is a really fun character in that I think he really does have true feelings for Alina, but he's such a, you know, dark and twisted soul that the way that he shows his love is, you know, by being possessive and controlling and things like that. So, yeah, I think he definitely does love her in his own way, but of course his love is a very like twisted form of love. So I think this Ghost song kind of represents that really well. And yeah, I know a lot of people out there are Team Darkling. I personally was Team Maul, but I understand why there's a lot of Team Darkling people out there with the whole like dark, forbidden bad boy vibe that you get from this character. Yeah, I get it. And next up we have the book Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, who is also one of my favorite authors of all time ever. And in the book Nevernight, we have our main character, Mia, and for her, I have assigned her the song Never Forgive, Never Forget by Arch Enemy. And yeah, I feel like this fits her perfectly, especially because her, like family motto is never flinch, never fear, never forget. And so I feel like that matched up perfectly with the title there. But also if you look at the lyrics, it really also represents the, motivation for her character, in that she is on this huge revenge mission, which is what drives her to join this school for assassins and everything that unfolds there. And she is one of my favorite female fictional characters in that, she doesn't take any shit from anyone. And she definitely doesn't hesitate to shed some blood. So yeah, I think this Arch Enemy song is definitely a perfect theme song for her. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about my personal debut fantasy novel that I just released here this month. And if you think I'm just doing this video just to talk about my own book, you are partially right. I will admit this is kind of a bait and switch here. I apologize, but I feel like I couldn't not talk about my book because first of all, I'm really excited about it. Second of all, I know a lot of you are fans of fantasy, and I think you would probably like it. So anyway, I also assigned some theme songs to characters in my book, which is titled Trials for the Haunted, which is out now in hardback and paperback, and ebook as well. So yeah, this is my little baby that I've been working on the past few years, and I'm really excited that it's out. But yeah, it's about a girl who is haunted by the ghosts of her past lives, who must enter this set of deadly trials in order to earn a cure for her curse. But when she enters the trials, she finds that her fellow competitors are, much more savage than she expected, in that they will go as far as murder to win. What's worse, there seems to be someone who is out to get her. But as she tries to uncover the mystery identity of her saboteur, she uncovers some other dark secrets along the way. If I had to compare it to something, I would say it's kind of like a fantasy version of Squid Game, with some, Wild West vibes and steampunk weapons thrown in there for fun. My main character, Sin, she is a 19-year-old girl who is, like I said, haunted by the ghost of her past lives, and she tries to kind of seize her place among her people, who are these kind of warrior society called the Legionite people. But in order to become a citizen of these people, she must perform a human sacrifice. So all that stands in her way when she's going to perform the sacrifice is her hauntings. And her haunting is this curse where all these ghosts from her past lives kind of manifest to terrorize her. So for her, I chose the song In Shadows by Fit for an Autopsy. And this song really kind of exemplifies how she is battling with her haunting and these ghosts that pop up to, like I said, terrorize her. And so the lyrics for this song really, I think, go into how she is trying to fight this battle against herself. In that throughout the story, she has all these external foes, but however, her biggest opponent tends to be herself and the kind of darkness within her by way of her haunting. Next up, we have Relia, who is kind of our secondary character. She is an 18-year-old orphan and a fellow competitor in the Nightarian trials alongside Sin. She revels in bloodshed, and she actually really likes to make clothes out of the monster's skin that she has slayed. So she's a fun character who is, all about killing monsters and, gambling and drinking in her free time. So for her, I assigned her the theme song of Uncomfortable by Hailstorm. I feel like the song really portrays her character well, in that she doesn't really give a shit what other people think, and sometimes she just does things just to try and piss people off, simply because she enjoys seeing their reaction and just getting a rise out of people.
Did it 'cause I want it, and I did it 'cause I'm gonna, and I did it just because I can. I did it 'cause it makes me feel so good, and I did it because fuck the man. I did it 'cause I'm crazy and no one's gonna save me, and I did it just to cut the noise. I did it 'cause I'm drunk, and I did it yes I walk, 'cause baby I'm just one of the boys. I did it all to break.
Next up, we have the character of Zedford. He is a 33-year-old Nightarian, and by Nightarian, I mean that he is this kind of fabled warrior who is imbued with, extra strength and the ability to heal himself. He is actually second in command of this big brigade of fellow Nightarians, and he kind of has a certain affinity for like misunderstood creatures and people. So he is on this mission to kind of try to train monsters and make them, kind of docile little pets. But so far it has not really worked out very well for him. He kind of has a soft side for, the monsters and the misunderstood, like I mentioned. But he's also mostly on the outside. He's mostly a badass, and he totes his wrist cannon, his 3-barrel wrist cannon pretty well. And so for him, I assigned the song Gravemakers and Gunslingers by Coheed and Cambria.
Strong little piggy, better watch out for number one. I feel there's a bad wind blowing through there. You better put up your shoulders, 'cause Lord knows now I ain't stopping till the worst gets alive. Little starter, don't you creep out that fucking road. It's best that you don't go walking through there. Now please don't bother.
So this theme song I think fit for him because I think it kind of shows off his abilities as this like fabled warrior, this immortal warrior with this kind of Wild West vibe to him. And he's really this Lone Ranger kind of guy. Sorry to talk about my own book so much, but you all have been so incredibly supportive of, you know, me and all of my endeavors, and I thank you for that so much. Anyone who has already pre-ordered a copy, you kind of have a first edition. In that I kind of ran into some snags with my publisher about the first copies that went out have some errors in them. I'm not going to bore you with that whole long story. I did a whole video on it on my other channel where I talk about writing. But yeah, it was sort of a mess and yeah, frustrating. But anyway, if you order the book now, you get the, you know, second edition, new and improved, better edition. Also, if you are not a reader, which I totally understand, I do have an audiobook for it coming out. It's not AI narrated, it's a human person narrating it, which is actually starting to become more of a rarity these days. So that will be out here in December. I'll keep you posted on when that is available. I've also made an entire playlist for this book that kind of turns this whole book into sort of like an extremely long concept album. And so for every chapter, I have assigned a song to that chapter. And if you are at all interested in any of this music, feel free to go check that playlist out. I will link it down in the description. So if you want more of like an immersive experience, you can listen to the playlist and read the book and kind of dive fully into the world there. But yeah, thank you for hanging in with me throughout this whole video. If you're still watching this, I really appreciate it. And yeah, this video is definitely going to get demonetized for me playing music in it. So yeah, go pick up a copy if you want to. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving if you're here in the States. I'll probably only be doing one more video at the end of this year. So stay posted for that. And I'll also be uploading to my Instagram account to kind of keep you guys updated on things going on in between. But yeah, kind of a busy month for me next month with Christmas going on and everything. Feel free to join my metalhead community. Link is in the description. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, and yeah, go check out my book if you're interested. Thank you freaks so much for watching. Until next time.